Well, great men discuss ideas, and that's what we try to do at Ramble Source: discuss ideas rather than events, rather than gossip. We are here to get to the core of the rambling, and I'm here with a good friend, Joe Preiner. It's Preiner, right? That's how you spell it or pronounce it? Not how you spell it, Preiner. And I have a penchant for messing people's last names up, but I'm glad to be with you. How you doing today?
Doing good. It's getting a little colder out here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So gonna have to
Tulsa.
pick up some leaves, shovel some leaves, or pick up leaves later.
Okay. The only connection I have with Tulsa is I used to listen to this podcaster. What is his name? Harris. Matthew Harris, I think is his name. Anyways, he wrote a book called Tulsa. It's sort of a post-apocalyptic, I think, fiction about Tulsa.
I can see that.
But well, I'm glad to have you. And on the Ramble Source, one of the things I like to do, but I often forget to do, is do the simultaneous sigh. So if you're not against it, I'd love to take a deep breath with you before we get started. So if you can, blow out all your air. Take a giant breath, the biggest breath you've ever taken. Hold it. And sigh. If I don't take time out of my life to take a deep breath, I often don't breathe deeply. So, and it's always good to breathe with other people.
No, that's good. I feel like all my life I haven't been breathing properly. So I've been found out on Instagram that it's like, dude, in the morning and you're in the shower, just plug up a nostril and inhale 3 deep breaths, and literally that helped breathing during the day, especially when everything gets stressful or whatnot, when you could sit back and take a nice deep breath and kind of get everything back into focus again and kind of go from there. So it's
that has sort of become one of my 5, in Ramble Source we talk about our 3 to 5 core messages or sermons, or the things that we come back to that we like to talk about. And breathing is one of the things, in Chicago as part of the BAM, or the Becoming a Man program. And one of the core tenets of that was deep breathing is important to being able to control our anger, in particular, our anxiety, and ultimately we start controlling our life through deep breathing.
It helps more focus the body. I feel like kind of aligns it to get it more, instead of doing shallow breaths and just trying to live, moment to moment, but taking a step back and, all right, how am I going to process this? How am I going to go about attacking this day, situation, or problem?
Yeah.
And meditation too.
Yeah, and it kind of goes along with it. Another guy I talked to, you might have seen him, Josh, is on Ramble Source. He sort of goes back a long way, all the way back to Reverse Redaction. I think he did at least to Not a Show, but he talks about how in the Eastern Orthodox tradition, meditation and prayer are the same thing. They talk about in the same way. And how important is deep breathing to prayer and meditation to focus? And I think that's exactly what you're saying. Intentionally being focused and, like you said, centered. I like that. But let's get deeper into so I like to ask about people's 3 to 5 things that you like, that you come back to, that you want others to know, not just that you've learned, but that you want others to learn.
I think kind of something that I grew up in my household was just being helpful, being a service to
Mm.
others. Is it others being, humans or animals? We grew up in
Mm.
a home where we fostered greyhounds, where greyhounds came off the racetrack, and they had the only life they knew was running and living in a cage. So just kind of seeing that, and having that basis, and just kind of living life. And I worked with the special needs population for a good quite a long time with my life. So helping
Hmm.
individuals on that aspect, and with their challenges and syndromes or whatever that may be, and even learned
Yeah.
American ASL too. So I know sign language. I learned
Oh.
sign language when I was going to college, so I could be more helpful for others. But the life I kind of live, I like to say I'm like a jack of all trades. I want to learn a little piece of this, piece of that, piece of that, and just kind of continue
Hmm.
on. Maybe not master the language of sorts, but get a good gist of it of sorts. But I think
Yeah,
being
you've always. What's that?
and just being helpful. But yeah, yeah.
Being helpful. Yeah, and you have struck me as somebody who. I mean, we connected early because I worked with you at Vapor House, and or I guess I was like a customer slash I did some things for JP or something, um but that's the one. But you had been working with people with special needs, but you also had this servant like heart that I noticed, and I guess I didn't realize that it comes out of this sort of family culture of helping because often like dogs and animals can be, but I think what I hear you saying is it's more than just being a helpful person. It's finding people and animals and those that are vulnerable, helping the vulnerable.
That, and and learning a lot more. I've been trying to kind of open up that mind sensation, and I'm one of the things that
Mm.
I've learned. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but growing up with dogs or whatnot, a lot of dogs that we dealt with or had in our home or fostered or whatnot, even my dogs today, I feel like they have human emotions
Hmm.
instead of being a dog running around. Being more of the dog being a family member. And what I've heard is once dogs start having human emotions, and when they pass away, their next life will be a human life because they
Interesting.
learned those type of emotions.
Well,
It's
yeah. Well, it's funny you bring that up because that's actually a subject of great debate starting back in 2000. I think it was 2000. I had a class of kids. One of them was my daughter and her friend Bethany, and she's in my youth group now. But w- w- we started this big debate that has yet to really uh I still actually I'm owed so she started writing a paper. She's a very very intelligent girl, my daughter as well. They were writing papers, and because I brought up the idea that I did not believe that animals had emotion, and so they vehemently opposed me. They're both of them, my daughter and Bethany, are big in fact right now they are at the nationals for 4-H. It's
for
like a spelling bee but for avian bee or whatever. But they were resolute that animals had emotions, and I have actually come a good deal through this conversation, discussion, argument, whatever you want to call it, over the last couple of years. I've come a long way into thinking about, but it comes down for me, it comes down to emotions. What are emotions? This is something that I get into, both of us being in the helping field, thinking about psychology, thinking about what it means to be human. I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe you've thought about it, Joe. What are emotions?
wow, that's interesting. Emotions is kind of what you feel in that
Hmm.
particular. moments that,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest one is always, taste and smell. When you have that smell, like firewood, camping. Oh, what that brings me back as a child, or that candy. I remember when that was on grandma's table or something like that. Or I like those emotions. And then then you have more of those. I feel like those deeper emotions where you don't. I don't know. You could control your emotions, or you could have your emotions control you. That's really that's a good one. I putting me on the
Well,
spot.
well, yeah, and the truth is I don't think anybody really knows what emotions are, but I think it's important because I do want to talk more about animals having emotions and emotions when it comes to connecting with other people. I think, and I'm just spitballing, but I have thought a lot about this. I wonder, so there is a thing that I learned from one of my, I don't know if he was a supervisor. I think he was just more of I worked with him for a little bit in my internship. Um, his name is escaping me right now. Shoot, he's gonna kill me. But anyways, he used to talk about anger, and anger being, so that particular emotion, anger being an emotion of defense that we have that helps us protect ourselves against anything that is attacking three particular things, and that is our essential needs, our personal values, and our what was it and our worth, our self-worth.
Oh wow.
So essential needs, personal values, and self-worth. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So like when anybody causes pain or attacks or threatens those particular core things in us, and usually for me it's like that's what being hangry is like my essential need of food. Whenever I'm hungry, that I'm very hangry, or sleep. But also
Yeah,
when
no,
people
definitely with
start
the hangry.
attacking, was that with the hangry?
Oh yeah.
So what do you think, does that track for you as far as like if that emotion of anger?
It's interesting because I've noticed when I would get more upset, I'd be like, oh, when was the last time I ate? Oh, okay, now I need some substance. It's to have your body in that proper, that's really interesting. One of the other things I always thought as well, is a reincarnation of souls, and I always thought maybe if your soul had some particular life experience previously, that you might be bringing those emotions with you as well. My one friend, she said her brother, his previous soul was a Vietnam soldier. So the stories that she told me was just interesting, but it was a life journey for that particular individual to learn that lesson in this lifetime from the and so that's I know that sounds crazy or whatnot. I usually kind of ask people, do you believe in reincarnation? Do you believe and I've been having more open thoughts of people have been helping me kind of open that mind, especially when I left Chicago, moved out of that thinking. So when I was in Colorado, my sister got me to go to a spirit fair with her. So a spirit fair, like people, tarot card readers, readings, psychics, past life regressions, chakras. There's such a different aspect to that world. Really interesting. I always suggest maybe anybody and everybody take a chance, go find your local spirit fair every few months in your city. And then, and I notice when I go to the spirit fairs, my emotions are just through the roof because now I'm with people kind of on another level that more I'm kind of maybe looking towards, maybe a different aspect. Because when I moved to Tulsa, religion, is a very big
Mm.
thing out here. So I wanted to open my mind, and so I started going to church with my neighbor and stuff like that. So,
Oh wow.
oh yeah, it's like I said, we're not living. I'm not in Chicago anymore, so it's a whole. You have you have time to yourself. You have time to think and kind of go
Well,
back
one
to.
thing I noticed, yeah, you seem like a much more like my experience of you today compared to then is there is a centeredness about you. There is a more relaxed, contemplative and openness about you when I knew you in Chicago was more seems like you were there was a cloud under you, just like whereas that's gone. And how wonderful
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see that change. I'm excited for you, man.
Thank you. Yeah, even one of the readings I got a year or two ago, the one psychic, mystical Matthew, he was just like, you unlock something. He's like, you figured it out. I was like, what do you mean? He's like,
Hmm.
he said, so he mentioned
Hmm.
something about death,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, and he's like, you're learning more than what's constraining you down on earth,
Hmm.
the rules, laws, regulations, I guess, of whatnot. But it took a while though. It really did. You know.
Well, that's interesting. The way you just said that gave me an idea, and that is so. Let's talk a little bit about spirit because I believe strongly that our spirit is what is spirit, but that which it's the threads, it's it is the real threads. It is the substance of the threads that connect us, and it is the meaning in our connections. And without spirit, when we turn away from spirit, from our spirit, it's interesting. You said when you went to the spirit conference, you felt more connected. It sounds like energized, and I do believe that when we turn towards our flesh, towards our bodies, and we're much more, when we start to tune in and satisfy our just basic, body stuff, that is when we become more alone. And I think about animals. And so this gets into what you're talking about animals having emotions. Animals are very alone, maybe not lonely because they don't know better, but when you domesticate them, and of course there's packs, and it is interesting to me that you say, that certain animals take on or learn emotions from from their humans or their owners, but I wonder if that has to do with spirit and an impartation of spirit or a connection. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. I believe everybody has a soul. And I think soul and spirit is different from each other or whatnot.
Hmm.
And that spirit, yeah, you could be kept down in your spirit, from the 9 to 5, the grind, the traffic,
Hmm.
the weather, not seeing the sun for January, February that was always kind of depressing to me when I lived back in Chicago. It was like, one more day to see
Mm.
that sun. One more, next week we're gonna see that sun. That
Yeah.
started playing an important role to me. And I think the spirit having sunshine and nature and standing in the ground with your shoes off and grounding yourself,
Mm.
kind of connecting to the earth spirit, the earth vibe, the just kind of call it grounding yourself.
Yeah.
Uh, and I find that when life kind of overwhelms me now, that's one of the things I do is ground myself, just stand in the yard with
Interesting.
my shoes off, and then all my neighbors and people driving by are like, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
having Spirit, man.
That's fascinating. But that's interesting because what you're saying is a little different than what I was saying, but it's true. It's true that we are inspired, right? Like inspired means to be spirit in us. We're inspired by nature. There is a spiritual connection when we're in nature, but nature is physical. Nature isn't spirit. How does that what's going on there?
I think nature is everything, man. I think Mother Earth is all around us, and
Mm,
we're on her Earth. We're on her time, and
mm,
we have a good spirit. I feel like from the Earth, or we can I have a good spirit from Earth? Earthquakes
mm,
or hurricanes or whatever it may be. But I've been getting more and more into crystals.
mm. Tell me
uh,
about that.
and if you would have asked me like 3 years ago about crystals or whatnot, I would tell you you're crazy. But now, here I got jars of crystals. Arkansas, the state of
Mm,
Arkansas, is a very and has a lot of crystals, diamonds, and stuff like that. So over the summer, I got a chance to drive out there and dig for my own
mm.
crystals. And why? I don't know.
Cool.
I just felt the calling to kind of more on that grounding of myself, and then learning more about crystals and you
Mm,
know. The city of Atlantis. I don't know. Atlantis. Everybody hears about Atlantis. This, Atlantis. That. Was it real? Was it fake? Was it on Earth?
mhm,
Was it somewhere else? But what I put together, that Atlantis was on Earth, and then Atlantis all utilized crystals with their technology. So I believe the crystals, and they're starting to find out that crystals can hold on to energy, or
mm,
quote unquote maybe even hold memory.
mm.
They're starting to find that mushrooms and fungus hold memory as well, and they're starting to combine
Yeah.
technology and nature, kind of, because they're finding that, I don't know, that technology aspect, but it's they're incorporating it more. So I think if we start incorporating more technology with nature, maybe it wouldn't be.
Yeah, I saw a Joe Rogan where he talked about Atlantis, or one of his
Probably like Graham
somebody.
Hancock or something.
Yeah, I think it was somebody who was talking about how he believes, and looking at the pyramids and stuff, how there's this idea that there was a whole different technology that somehow maybe the flood or something got wiped out. So at some point there was a reset, and we moved from a more natural technology, but very sophisticated natural technology, to a more man-made or metal, or I guess computer type technology, artificial. I
Well,
guess
what
the
you just
word
said,
is
yeah,
artificial.
it was a reset, and then we guess what? You got to start back at the Stone Age, and then the Bronze, and
Hmm.
I like I said, man, the victors write the stories, so kind of go based
Hmm.
off of that. But yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's interesting. I want to pursue. I want to look into that more. One of the problems I have, though, the reason I'm not I don't believe in reincarnation. Yes, do you believe in reincarnation? I don't believe in reincarnation, but I'm open. The problem is I have a very I've developed over time this very distinct definition of the soul. I believe strongly, although I'm open to discuss it, and I don't, obviously I'm not I'm not an expert or anything, but over the years I've really been thinking a lot about the soul. When we talk about like our core messages or core ideas, that who we are, one of them is about the soul for me, and I believe that the soul is a marriage between the spirit and our body. And I believe that can never be undone, because it is a process, that creates a imprint on our universe that is unique for everybody, and that is uniquely tied to a physical life and a spiritual life, where they tie, where they make that knot, and I believe it's an eternal knot. That's why I said marriage is the soul, and it looks a particular way, and it sounds a particular way, and it is a particular way. It's for me, it's a Judah soul, and that soul will never. Now, I could see an argument as I'm talking, and I want to get your take on this, of how that soul could be renamed, but then I have difficulties with that, even as naming in our names in our life here on earth has, I'd be afraid, or I would think that would get watered down if it was continually changing bodies. What do you think?
That's interesting. No, definitely. What I've kind of put together myself, that the soul comes to this earth to learn life lessons. One of the readers at one of the fairs I had, he was more of a reincarnation specialist, and he's like, what do the cliffs of Dover remind you of? And I'm like, I don't know, the song. And he's like, no, I see you as a boat captain during the Battle of Dunkirk. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you were helping the British and French soldiers get from France back over to. And I was like, nah, like that doesn't, but he's like, well, your soul's journey on that life was forgetfulness. And I was like, what? I'm like, dude, I'm organized. I know where everything's at. I know where they're. It's like that life lesson, you were unorganized. So you put something down and you come back to it and it was gone. And I was like, what? So, another saying I always like to hear is we're just a soul in a meat suit having a spiritual journey on earth.
Interesting.
And it's definitely interesting, and I believe, maybe we don't remember, or there's things that are blocking us from remembering previous lives that we learned our lessons from. Maybe was it having a family? Was it running a business? Was it, living in squalor, living in a high castle, having, it's really interesting because, I'm going to throw that out there for a second. Like those shows like 600 Pound Life, I've heard like those souls, their previous lives, that person in their previous life and that soul like died from starvation. So in this life, they have food. They have this. They never want to let it go because they didn't have it before. So that kind of gets on that psychological where, what. But so I kind of
the idea of cycles and like cycle fulfillment of that's interesting, going from a deficit to but the difficulty for me with that is that if a soul is irreconcilably attached to the body, then what can it actually learn from the body? I mean, how can it learn at all from the body if it is just a meat suit? That memory, to me, memory is vitally attached to our body, in the sense that if somebody loses connection with their body, they lose personality. You ever seen somebody who's like got amnesia and they lose who they are?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's I feel like that kind of gets to another aspect of what we put in our body. What 100 years ago, nobody had Alzheimer's. 100 years ago, there was no ADD. There was all these. Now, what are we eating? What are we applying? What are we ingesting to make more of our body toxic?
That's the first thing I noticed about you is you look more healthy than I've ever seen. You're thin and vibrant. What have you been doing like food wise?
I'm not eating a beef sandwich and a hot dog every Friday, and cheesecake, and Chicago. Yeah, I love it. We have the best. It's the best food. It's the best.
Yes,
phenomenal. you know, and
The
then,
biggest thing I miss. The biggest thing I miss is
well,
food.
when you don't have those delectables anymore, and you don't have your special bakery and cookies, or you know, you start to lose weight, and you know, living in Colorado for those few years, being that elevation and that deep
Hmm.
breathing, that's when I started learning more how to breathe better. But you know, well, now your body's burning more everything because you're breathing and your body's working a little bit harder or whatnot. But in general, you know, there's a
Hmm.
lot of things I took out of my diet. I've been bread was one of the biggest things. I haven't gone. It's been about a year or something like that. You know, I used to eat a
Yeah.
sandwich every day for lunch, but I
Bread
mean,
is, it's amazing how toxic bread is for us, and nobody talks about that.
the preservative.
But,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah. It's you know. So I started changing my diet, and then you know, like we don't need to is to be heavy. You know, you eat that meal, and
yeah.
you have that heaviness. And,
Mm.
but I also
Yeah.
learned to start fasting as well.
Oh.
With you know doing you know maybe eat your meal and then go and in the morning don't eat breakfast. Try to push that
Mm.
lunch, you know, because in the morning your liver actually makes a sugar, you know, to naturally, so your body starts
Mm.
utilizing the real sugar that your body has in your body. So well, you think about, you know, how did the humans, you know, did they have breakfast when they woke up in the morning, or did they have to go scavenge for food or something of that sort?
Right.
You know, so our
Yeah.
bodies are very strong, you know, fighting off diseases, illnesses, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Fixing bones, you know, break a bone, it fixes itself. Incredible. But
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, now that you say that, it is kind of incredible.
it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And I realized that, you know, I don't have to be eating food, especially granola
Yeah.
bars. I was addicted to granola bars, and I started learning about the
Really?
glyphosate. Glyphosate,
Yeah.
the chemical.
Glyphosate.
We're all eating it. It's we
Yeah.
shouldn't. We shouldn't. But you know, the convenience for the farmer and the factories, and so there's just a lot of things I stopped eating in
Mm.
general, and
Okay.
being more on vitamins. You know, taking just basics, ginger capsules with help with digestion. You know, that's
That
always
is
a great
good.
one. And B vitamins. I didn't realize how
You know,
important B vitamins were.
oh man, yeah, I think we learned. Many of us learned a lot about B vitamins and D vitamins during the pandemic, or at least I did. I don't know. It seemed like some of my
Yeah,
friends did.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly.
Well, we're at the 30-minute mark, and I want to sort of wrap. I like to keep them about 30 minutes. It's
Cool.
just
Yeah,
easier to edit later and stuff like
yeah.
that. But before we go, I like to come back to, well, what do you know? So what? So what? And I think what I'm hearing from you is in the so what is definitely the idea of helping others and helping ourselves, but in a way that we're looking for um, health, right? Like the goal is health. Seems like,
Yeah. Oh,
and
definitely,
and
definitely.
but from what I'm hearing from you, it's more than just a healthy body. It's a healthy spirit. It's a healthy, just holistic approach. And I think that's a good thing to take into today is that we're more than just what we eat. We're more than just what we say, but it's like a holistic thing, and to look around and to be open to what's going on in more dimensions than one.
Exactly. More of the dimensions than one, man. We're on the 3D level. We're going to be going to the 4 and 5, fifth dimension soon. So gotta
Ooh.
get that body prepared. Gotta get the mindset prepared. And you know, the earth is just a wonderful place. And as I say, we all chose to be here at this time. Our
Mm.
souls, there's a reason, you know, that it's
Hmm. Hmm.
as time was plays out, and you know the society today gets a little more crazier, and you know holidays come up, so you know it's great to have, you know, be with the loved ones again, and you know trying to cherish those memories before the rest of the world gets a little more crazier, you know, year after year. And you know, you and I, man, we've, you know, we're not our grandparents, we didn't fight in World War II, but you know we did get to see you know, the Twin Towers to the Iraq to the Desert Storm, and like
Yeah.
we,
Yeah.
our generation, seen a lot of this going through. Gonna be, it ain't done yet. So, but Judah, thank you so much for having me on. I
I
love this.
appreciate. I'd like to have you on again, man. It sounds like you're setting us up for some. I got more questions for you based on what you just said. So
Yeah, I believe
let's meet again.
yeah, no, we're here to have fun, man. Let's have fun on this planet.
Amen. All right. Well, brother, good talking to you. And thank you for always being what is it? A positive voice. You've always been a very positive voice, and I appreciate that about you, man.
Yes, Judah, you always had a positive outlook on everything, and that's always helped me to keep more positive when I, especially working with you or dealing with you at all. I was like, Judah's here.
Well, good.
Oh, all right, cool.
Well, good.
So,
Awesome. Well, let's do this again. And thank you for anybody who's watching, and tune in again as I interview people I think are interesting, and Joe definitely for sure meets that criteria. We're having back on. So talk to you later.
awesome, Judah. Thank you, man.
Yeah.